Hello and good evening everyone. Let's see if it works, and if it does, then we can get going. There is about 10-second lag, I guess. Perfect, but it does work. I can hear myself, at least on YouTube. So again, good evening and welcome to my weekly live stream. Today's moderator is going to be, as always, KrzaQ. You can see his nickname here, and I guess somewhere here sometimes his website is also shown if you're interested in C or C++. Actually C++ more than. Do check out his website. I guess I also saw another moderator, Foxtrot Charlie, being here, so hi Foxtrot. And yes, today's topic is actually going to be more CHIP-8. So last time I was actually saying that I will probably move to doing an anti-reverse engineering VM from now, but when Foxtrot asked me a few days ago what are we going to do, and asked whether we were doing the CHIP-8 debugger, I actually thought that if I don't do it now, then there probably won't be a good chance like this in the future to chat a little about how debuggers work and how do you create a VM level or actually machine level debugger. So I guess it's a pretty good topic to as a follow-up to the CHIP-8 implementation I did. Cool. So I guess we can get going. Let's see. So the state of the code I had last time isn't perfect. It's basically like something worked, but not everything. Oh, I see, I need to make the font bigger. By the way, today after my live stream, I believe Murmus is going to stream. There will be like a small text box at the end of my stream next to the mission. There is going to be a mission today about the topic of his stream. I believe he's going to do some layout changes to his obs so that actually fuzzing results are going to be displayed there, which is like quite amazing idea actually. I'm going to check it out. So that's one thing. Okay, making the font bigger, perfect. Yeah, and he also said he will work some more on his fuzzer, so sounds fun. He usually starts streaming somewhat after my stream ends, so you can just jump from my stream straight onto his stream. And I guess after his stream there's going to be a SpaceX rocket launch, which, if you're a space enthusiast, as I am, that's a cool thing to see. Cool, so let's see, what do we have here? The last state was that the VM worked, Pong was playable, but something didn't work with it correctly. I'm probably going to check later out why it didn't work correctly, but we'll get to that. Let's see if it compiles first. So it does compile. Can you do a make test? I probably need to do like CHIP-8 and Pong ROM. Pong was not created by me, it was. Yeah, so it seems to work, though I do need to figure out which. Yeah, here's how I move it. At least these two paddles. So yeah, something works. Where's the? How do I move the rest of the paddles? As in the A, B, C. Okay, so it's C and D. Yeah, so something works, it's just that the paddles are somewhat misaligned, I guess. As in, you can see that there is probably, if you like zoom, it doesn't make zooming work. Perfect. Then this paddle here actually should be somewhere around here, like on either the first or the second column, but it's not. So it's probably due to the offset. There is like a couple of bytes here which are for some reason rendered in this place and should not be rendered, and this is actually, if you have additional bytes at the beginning of a frame buffer due to some reason, or the frame buffer is beginning a little early, then this is what happens. I'm pretty sure this is a bug in my code. It's probably not a bug in Pong itself, but I did download a couple of other CHIP-8 images, so I'm going to check out. Yeah, but it doesn't, like, if everything else works, then it doesn't seem to be a big problem. By the way, if you have any questions at any time, do ask this person. Ping KrzaQ either on IRC or mark him with an @ sign on YouTube, because that's the way he will see the question and he can let me know. Cool. So I did download, where do we have it? I did this query in like Google and found bad logic, CHIP-8 repository, DMA, like, is it DMA or DMATLAG? I don't know. Logtar00, and again bad logic. I guess I downloaded this already. So I downloaded everything they had here so I can do some testing. I don't know who exactly are the authors of it. I'm pretty sure it's not these people, since some of the stuff is like 2008, 91, and 97. I also saw some like 79. So this is a collection of stuff basically. So I'm going to do some testing with it. Well, first I do need to, I guess, unpack it. So yeah, it's ROMs. Yeah, I guess this is enough ROMs to actually do some testing. So okay, let's run. Yeah, I guess you probably didn't see it. So let's do this. Okay, perfect. Here we go. Yeah, I unpacked some of the ROMs. They are here. So yeah, I guess I'm going to check. I also had a repository with some demos, so I would ideally want to find those. Yeah, there are some demos here, so let's maybe see that. This is like CH-8 format. I have absolutely no idea what it is, so I'm going to just check out at the beginning if this is, yeah, perhaps this is the same thing. So 0 demo. Okay, yeah, I'm going to start with this, with 0 demo. So ROM/0 demo. Okay, and it's okay. So okay, here's the question. Should this be, is it mirrored? Is it mirrored because of how I am rendering the sprites, or is it mirrored? Oh, I know. I think when I was implementing it, I was actually wondering whether the bits should be, which way around should they be interpreted when drawing the sprites. I guess my answer is that I figured it out wrong. So I'm going to leave this here and I'm going to try to correct it, because I guess the 0 is not supposed to be mirrored. That's my guess. So let's find where is drawing the sprites. I guess I'm going to I was thinking about opening the opcodes on Wikipedia, but I guess I can just like look here and try to figure out. Yeah, frame buffer, so this is probably drawing, and the bit, and I'm using this formula to grab a bit. Maybe, just maybe, this should be like this. Larger or equal to 0 and k minus minus, so the other way around. Oh no, this isn't going to change anything because I still have k here, so I need to actually do it in a different way. I'm just going to do 7 minus k. Same. As you know, there are 8 pixels in a byte. Well, 8 bits in a byte are 8 pixels in a byte. Pavel, thank you for the donation. Debugging rocks. I fully agree. Though it gets boring after the 10th hour, when you lost all of your hair and like scratching your teeth and still trying to debug something. But yeah, it's fun during the first 10 hours. So this is like basically reversing the order I am reading the bits. Let's see if it actually fixes this problem. So I need to recompile it. This code is, by the way, available on my GitHub, so yeah, and this actually fixes this issue. So I'm going to check if it fixes also the Pong issue, which I don't believe it will, but it does. Okay, so yeah, I guess that was the bug. I thought we were going to get it fixed like rather easy. I still don't remember how to, yeah. You probably shouldn't play this game online. Like, yeah, okay, seems to work. Perfect. It's flickering a lot though. Why is it flickering? I don't like that it's flickering. Is it because my VM is slow? well, whatever. So okay, this works, the demo works. Let's see what else do we have there. Do we have any other demos? We have a particle demo, that sounds perfect. So ROMs, particle demo. Okay, yeah, this actually seems to work. So what I'm surprised in and surprised by is that for some reason, my VM actually works. I mean, after 3 live streams of coding it, and just this one bug so far, it's rare to get it right, so I'm quite happy. So the flickering, it seems to be actually, like, this isn't flickering too much. It might be due to the game, how it's drawing how much space it takes between redrawing the sprites. Okay, and I guess I'm going to check one more thing, and then we can go to maybe 2 more things. I'm going to check first the IBM logo. IBM. Ah, this is nice and old school. And is there another logo I could check? CHIP-8 emulator logo. Okay, sounds fun. Okay. I guess when we are like super bored, we can actually make a live stream of making a game for this console VM, whatever. I'm going to, I guess, extract one more archive because I did see some more demos somewhere. Maybe I'm mistaken. Yes, here we are. Okay, so there is also stars demo. Stars. Okay. Let's assume these are stars, I guess. Then we have... Maybe it's something more would be happening there if I would let it. Wait. Maze alternative and maze non-alternative. Let's start with maze non-alternative. That's actually a maze, that's true. So... yeah. That's not what I wanted to press. That's also not what I wanted to press. This is what I wanted to press. Yeah, this is an actual maze. I wonder if it's solvable. Probably no. Pretty cool still. So let's close it. Then the alternative version. Okay. And there's a Sierpinski triangle, which is a fractal. So as you know, it's a triangle which is like, I think it's called a triforce or triforce, and then you have a triforce inside of each triangle, and so on and so on. So yeah, everything seems to work. I am really surprised by it. And I think that's CHIP-8. I have no idea what's CHIP-8, but let's take a look. Okay, is it a real demo? There's obviously no sound because I didn't implement it. No, this is like a real demo. Cool. So it seems to work. That's my basically my conclusion. Therefore, I'm going to make a copy of my source code. Like, yeah, I just created this like copy file. Best versioning system. I know I have it on GitHub, but yeah. And now I'm going to start making a debugger out of it. So how do you make a debugger out of it? Well, first of all, you need, well, actually you need, oh, there's a question or actually a comment that maze looks like /maze, aka 10print. I have absolutely no idea what that is, 10print. Oh. This is something I need to read about, it seems. Thank you for letting me know. I am going to save this link. Should just... Okay. Huh, that's cool. It looks like basic maybe for Atari or something like that. And there's also a book, I guess, with tricks about it. Yeah, I'm totally going to buy it just to take it. Does it run Crysis? CRYZIS. I don't think it runs CRYZIS. CRYZIS, it's a... Probably you know, it's like the FPS game from 2007, 2006-ish, which was really amazing. I really liked the single player. And you had to have a good PC to play it. It's like same when Unreal 1, not Unreal Tournament, not Unreal 3, but Unreal 1 came out. It was also like a similar game with like awesome graphics, and you had to have like a super strong machine to actually play it. What about Mario? I don't believe I do have a Mario here. Well, I guess it could run Mario if you count Mario as like 1 pixel of size. That wouldn't really be Mario, would it? Okay, so what we need to do basically is we need to create some kind of a user interface and also add some code which basically allows us to set breakpoints to inspect the code, like basically get the dump of registers, get the dump of the timers, get the dump of well, memory obviously. And also what we need is a disassembler. So we need to write a disassembler for it. Since I'm lazy, I need to figure out how to do a disassembler without actually doing too much work. So let's do it like this. I'm going to start with breakpoints, I guess, and because breakpoints already force me to do a user interface. So I'm going to do a user interface, and I'm going to totally abuse the fact that I do have a console window. I mean, when I run it, right, this is a blocking process. My console doesn't return, therefore I can actually use my console as, well, you know, to type commands for a debugger. I don't have to do a proper UI, and I guess making a proper UI isn't really necessary for most debuggers. Oh, there's a question. So what is CHIP-8? CHIP-8 was basically a specification for a game console like virtual machine done in late 70s or early 80s, something like that. And we implemented it on the last 3 streams, like the specification. So we didn't really implement the specification. We implemented what was written on the Wikipedia about the specification. That's the more correct way to say it. Oh, by the way, after the stream, a couple of people spotted some bugs in my code. If you checked out GitHub, you see that they are credited in the source code in proper places. That was before the last stream. Cool. So, okay, how can we chat with the console if we actually have an event loop running here? I guess the answer is, yes, you guessed it. We are going to make another thread, and the thread is actually going to chat with the console. Because the console usually has blocking operations, and we are actually fine with blocking operations. That being said, due to the fact that they are blocking operations, we actually cannot put it in this event loop because it would block the event loop and the window would just freeze. I mean, for example, this function which does redrawing of a frame buffer would never be executed. How does one create ROMs for CHIP-8? That's actually an excellent question. I don't know if there is any compiler. I don't know, there probably is an assembler or two. And what you could do, you could basically use NetWide assembler to it. I guess I'm going to show you how to use NetWide assembler to do it in a second. That's a great question, by the way. So just for testing, I'm going to also create a ROM today. The ROM probably will not do anything fancy, but at least I will tell you how to abuse NetWide assembler to create custom opcodes. Okay, so let's call it debugger thread, and we do SDL create, and then VM thread func VM thread, no, debugger, yeah, thread function, when we call it debugger thread, and we have to pass something to it. I guess we can pass also the, what's my, yeah, I was thinking I'm actually exceeding the 80 character boundary. Perfect. So it also gets the object of the VM, so it can have access to what it needs to get access to, basically. Sorry. Cool. And I guess at the end, somewhere here, I do need to wait for that thread and destroy it. So I'm going to wait for the debugger thread. And that's about it. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much, CHIP-8, for a link to the specification. Yes, I think I also had it opened on the first live stream. So I can do a cross-check of... Oh, the sprites are only... I thought the sprites are for like all the alphabet. Well, it doesn't matter. I guess I can do a cross-check of instructions which I was wondering if I got correct in a second. So, but I'm also going to just drag this to my folder to save it there. Perfect. Well, let's continue. I created the thread, now I actually need to create the function. Yes, I know I actually should split this and put it in various, like in a couple of files, right? Because this code is already like 650 lines. This should be split into a couple of files, but I'm not going to split it because, you know, live stream code quality isn't production code quality. Be aware of that, please. Where's my... I just wanted to copy this function. Oh, come on. Yeah. And yet another question. Okay, cool. So I'm going to write my debugger here, I guess. It's like debug thread func. It gets the same thing. And I'm not going to do this. Okay, and now I'm going to check in the most hacker way possible whether this actually does really grab the console. It should grab the console. Can you name a more hacker way to do it than using the infamous gets function? You probably cannot. So make and CHIP-8 ponk. We're going to use ponk for... Okay. Yes, it works. It grabbed the console. The stack-based buffer overflow totally crashed the program, so it works. Which means I can actually do the user interface here. Maybe a contest to create an interesting graphical effect for CHIP-8. This is an excellent idea. I'm actually going to note it. We should have a contest to do that. I agree. I will announce something on my blog soon. If you study system programming, they make you program a machine called SIC and SIC SIC/XE. It's famous. I know that this might be a silly question, but how much is it different from CHIP-8? Given that I have absolutely no idea what is SIC or SIC/XE, I don't know. Seriously, we can, I guess, later take a look at it. I am going to note your question as well. Okay, it's noted. But in the end, there are places where the VMs can differ from each other and places where the VMs can be like really, really similar. So usually most of the approaches to virtual machines is really similar, and there are some things which you can do differently. For example, you don't have to have registers in your CPU in your virtual machine. You can actually have only instructions which address memory, and then you would use like memory addresses as registers, because why not? It's you know, it would be slower, but it's a virtual machine anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? And actually I had even implemented a virtual machine like that in the past. Then you can do some random thing, like for example, if you have a jump, then on some architectures, like real architectures, not VMs, the next instruction could be executed due to, like, for example, executing 2 instructions at the same time, or how the pipeline works, or some other stuff. You could also have this in the VM, but I don't expect it to have in a training virtual machine, something like that. Then you can have like differently organize the memory, right? You could have flat memory layout, or like CHIP-8. This is like a totally flat memory layout. Or you can have banks, and you need to do bank switching. Or you can have page tables, like x86f, or x86 has. Or you could do like segmented like addressing, like again x86 and 16 bits has. Or you can do some other weird stuff with the memory. So, and then there is like the hardware and peripherals, like for example the timers, the input and output, how you do them, what kind of devices you do. So this is also the place where the VMs can greatly differ. Yeah, but I guess in the end, most of the stuff I described has, the core of it remains the same. If you understand how to make one virtual machine, you understand how to make most of them, unless somebody comes up with like some super weird idea, obviously. I guess like in terms of virtual machines, you have also a lot of virtual machines which are on higher abstraction level, and I mean here like the Python virtual machine, the Java virtual machine, Adobe Flash virtual machine, which don't really have access to memory. They are higher level, they have access to objects, and they have a stack. They are basically a so-called stack machine. So that's a kind of different type of a virtual machine. I guess they are different. I'm not going to say easier or harder, they are different. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's basically, I spent just 10 minutes not answering your question. So how do we do a debugger interface? I guess this is going to be an infinite loop. Is the loop going to be really infinite? No, it's not going to be really infinite, because we need to actually break in case the end happens. So I'm just going to copy paste this. I actually did learn like offline a little more of SDL and threads, and I know they actually do have mutexes. I was wondering if they do, because I mean it's the most basic and obvious thing to have, but you don't always have mutexes, so but they do. So this is kind of a hack. I would do it probably with a mutex now. Doesn't matter, as long as it works. So this is fine. Then I do need a buffer. I probably should get a string. Yeah, valid question of how do I do parsing. I'm going to do C parsing. It will be fine, nothing will break. So line, and this is going to be, I don't know, I'm going to do like a little extreme here. This basically says to 0 initialize it. And now I'm going to get the line. So if, how am I going to read a line? I'm going to read a line using scanf, because I like scanf. So scanf, read into, and this is how you read a line in scanf. 2, 0, this is the buffer size, and this is a line. This means basically grab everything until the end of a line. So this is fine. I guess I'm going to do a space here, so it actually ignores the white spaces at the beginning. I'm pretty sure if I do a white space here, it would be ignored, but so I'm going to ignore it. And it should store it in the line, and if it's not equal to 1, then just continue. If it's not equal to 1, it means it was not able to, says differently. Scanf actually returns how many tags, I call this a tag, a formatting tag, how many tags were properly populated and properly parsed. And well, we have 1 tag, so scanf should return 1, right? And if it doesn't return 1, then just continue. I mean, nothing breaks, right? Because this is a user interface. User can just, like, I don't know, hit enter, and then we get an empty line. That's fine. Otherwise, just print out the line, because I want to see what am I actually getting here. So yeah. Okay. Why do you? The end was not declared in the scope. How was it not declared? I thought that was actually. Oh wait, it's no, it's in the VM, right? Yeah, it's in the VM. So okay, my mistake. I actually thought that was a global variable. It shouldn't be the global variable, but I thought it would be. So VM, sorry, not VX, VM. Okay. Okay, this is fine. So I'm going to just type something, and yeah, it nicely gets my line. Now I'm going to do some spaces at the beginning and spaces at the end, and it strips the spaces at the beginning but doesn't strip the spaces at the end, so it's exactly as I said. No, I didn't put the space here, so let's do it again. But it will act the same way actually. Yeah, that's even weirder. Because I guess it's looking, after the return, it's still looking for white characters to satisfy the pattern, so no, there must be no white space here. And this is fine. And having it here, now I can tokenize it. And how do I tokenize it? Tokenizing is obviously splitting a string. What I need to do is I need to get the first word of it, because the first word is going to be the comment, right? So what I do, I guess, is I'm going to grab a command. I'm going to still be using C parsing. That's actually my one problem with C and C++. There isn't a good way to parse text. If you disagree and you think that there is a great way to parse text in C or C++, please do let me know. But I actually don't. So ss scanf, scanf. Ss is obviously like string scanf. And I'm going to parse the line, and I want to find the first S. S means basically word, like space separated words. So get me a word, but this is a buffer overflow. No, it isn't a buffer overflow, because it's not a buffer overflow because this size is actually equal to this size. If I would make this smaller, then it would be a buffer overflow. Doesn't matter, obviously, because the user is... oh, it's funny, because it seems... Do you see some artifacts here? I did see on the preview, I don't see on my screen. That's quite weird. Regular expressions, right. You know, if you have a problem and you use regular expression, then you have two problems. So no, thank you. But I'm still going to put the size here. And then I guess I'm going to make a space. And so this is quite funny. This is probably undefined behavior, what I think I want to do. Because I would actually, after getting the first word, I would happily move my... I want the size of this word, actually. This should be the size of the word. I have absolutely no idea what type of variable does it take, but I think it's size t. So cmd size, I'm going to initialize it with 0. Yeah, let's just do this. And, or is it an integer? I don't know even if it works, so let's see. Perfect, cmd and cmd size. If it's, no, it will work, it has to work, there is no reason why it would fail if this if actually passes. And so this is fine. What I want to do is I want to actually know what's the size here. So unsigned cmd size. Yeah, it takes int. Okay, so so if it takes int, that's actually fine. Though that being said, sometimes Ming GCC understands the formats in printf and scanf as glibc printf and scanf. Now, Microsoft's C runtime library actually differs, and this might not be an int, but let's see. So I'm going to leave this here, and this is fine, and this is fine. Let's do it once again. You can see one funny behavior. For example, if I close the window now, it actually doesn't close, right? I clicked here, it stopped, but it doesn't close. Why is it closed? Why is that? Because this thread, my debugger thread, is actually waiting for my input, and it's blocking the thread. Therefore, the thread cannot check if the command to return was already issued, and therefore it cannot actually exit. So I have to press enter, and now it actually I was going, oh no, enter doesn't work. I have to press like write something actually, and now it disappeared. So I am going to think how to solve this in a second. Yes, the artifact happens when I scroll Sublime. That's quite funny. I do wonder what kind of memory is disclosed during my live stream in that case. That being said, due to how Codex works, I'm not too afraid, but maybe there's some fun stuff there. Do let me know if there's some fun stuff. Probably just pointers though. So okay, this seems to work. It did for me typing ASDF, it actually returned ASDF and 4 as the size of it. I guess at this point I should have something like this. Char p as the pointer to, like a reader pointer to what I'm parsing. And this p, and here I should do cmd size. So I actually move the pointer to after what I've already read. Okay, and here I can actually start executing the commands. Now, what commands should I have? Maybe Vim is jealous. That's perfect. Maybe Vim is jealous, that's true. Especially that I'm beginning to really like Sublime, so maybe Vim is indeed jealous. Okay. So I'm going to, I guess... I already said that I need to implement a breakpoint first, right? I don't need to implement it, but I am going to implement it. So I'm going to create function called debug cmd breakpoint, and it will take two things. It will take the name of the command, const char cmd. It will take a string to the arguments, which are totally not parsed. I probably need a helper function to do the tokenizing at some point. So const char args. Maybe I should tokenize it. Yeah, I'll figure it out in a sec. And then I obviously need the CHIP-8 VM, because this is what I'm going to operate on. Okay. And yeah, this is where I set the breakpoint. Now, what I need to do, before I get here, I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to create a new structure called debug cmds, debug commands, debug cmds, and it's going to have a pointer to that exact thingy, and I'm actually going to go for like std function. I'm not super used to this type of pointers in all honesty. I did use one already, right? Or was it on the Polish thread? No, I think that's on the Polish thread. Okay. Though I do need to probably define the type for it. Whatever. It returns nothing, and it takes const char pointer, and chip. Oh, I forgot the asterisk here. Asterisk is the nice name for a star. Okay, and yeah, and the name. So function and std string for a command. So like just cmd probably. And now I'm actually going to create an array of this type of stuff with one entry at the end, which is going to be null pointer. Can it actually be a null pointer? Well, we're going to find out, I guess, the hard way. Breakpoint is going to be B for breakpoint, obviously. Or I'm going to also add an alias to it, and this. Okay, and break, I guess, also. Let's see if it works at all. I'm expecting a lot of compiler errors, like all of them. Okay, chip wasn't declared because it's called CHIP-8. Okay, then we have warnings about unused parameters, that's fine. std doesn't name because I do need to include something. What do I need to include? Functional. Okay. Yeah, it works. Wow. I was expecting, oops, I was expecting actually more problems. Will you publish your theme for Sublime? No, because I didn't create it. But you can find it on, sorry, let's go to my Twitter because I actually retweeted it. This one, no, not this one. This one. This tweet on my Twitter from Paweł Łukasik. Greetings. Or actually greets. And if you go to his GitHub, you can actually find the Sublime theme. So I'm going to actually give you the links. No, I cannot. Why cannot I give you links? I don't know. For some reason I cannot copy paste links on YouTube anymore, even though I am, you know, the owner of a channel. I seriously need to file a bug for it, because that's annoying. Okay, so I guess that answered that question. Cool, let's go back to my breakpoints. So for now I'm just going to do... I'm going to check if it actually works, so puts, I don't know, arcs. Yeah, this is fine. Break ASDF. Nothing happened. Perfect. Because I forgot to implement the loop which actually checks this. This should actually be a map. Right? It should be a map. And an ordered map. Do I care? No, I don't care. Given that I don't care, let's do this. For... this is going to bite me. Yeah, for all the debug commands, find the right one. I'm sorry, I cannot look at it. It needs to be a map. I know this isn't really performance critical, but yes. So std unordered map from an std string into debug cmds. This could actually be a pointer, but I don't care. I wonder if I could just create a map, like using this way, so I don't need to copy the stuff. Yeah, this is a moment where I'm going to learn C++. Std unordered map. Here we go. Welcome to today's episode where Gunvale is going to read documentation. So I'm looking for constructors which actually have the initialization bucket. Yeah, I know KrzaQ. It's a typo. There is a way to initialize it. Like example number 5. Yes, I can do this. I am absolutely amazed by the modern C++. So I don't even need to copy anything. I don't need this. This is the typo which KrzaQ spotted. And I'm just going to do this. Okay, and now there are going to be all the debugger errors. No debugger, like compiler. Yes, perfect. This is exactly what I needed. Why? Oh, because they use equal and I don't use equal. Does that matter? I don't know if it matters. They say it matters, so... I also absolutely don't need this, by the way. you could not convert my list because of... No, seriously, do I need to do this? Because if I need to do this, then I actually don't like it and I'm going to use a different way. Could not convert to another map. Wait, what? Okay, I'm going to do one more thing here. I'm going to test if this works. If this works, then I'm actually not using it. So yeah, you're saying that the map should be, this should be actually a function. I actually would prefer to have it, oh, okay, no. Ah, okay, now I get it. Okay, thank you, thank you. So, yeah, I think we're going to do your way. Because initially I was actually wanting to have both of these things, but that's not really needed. That's actually redundant, and given that it's redundant, I'm going to absolutely use this. Perfect. Now our template is like so large it doesn't fit on my screen anymore. Okay, this should be fine now. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, so thank you, good call. Okay, this should be fine now. So I probably wasted more time doing this the right way than it would save CPU time in all eternity. Just because, you know, using a list instead of a tree. Okay, so now I do have a CMD. Therefore, what I can do is I can do this. Auto, is auto fine? Auto should be fine. Variable good. Let's maybe do I need a const? I don't know. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's gonna be const. Did I name it? Yes, I did. So function is going to be the debug commands find, and what I need to find is I need to find CMD. Now, if function is actually equal to debug commands dot and when that means I didn't find anything. I can just output an error. So command command not found. Okay, and I need CMD. Perfect. And I can do continue here. But I'm also missing somewhere here is like a prompt. Yeah, if I don't do the flash, then it's actually not guaranteed that this will take effect until like an end of line is reached. It's different on different operating systems. Rakumash says that debugging is removing the needle from the haystack. Is it? That's usually a small haystack. It's a good comparison though. Okay, this is fine, this is fine. I have a space there, I did this. Otherwise, okay, let's see if it compares with one. It did. Yeah, and now we have a nice prompt. The problem with this prompt is that it's not red, it should be red, right? Okay. Why is it? Why are you not working? This is the way to create colors, right? So yeah, this is fine. Now colors go. The question is, should I have escaped the backslash? No, I shouldn't, because it needs to be an escape sign. I don't know why it's not working. But the behavior on the Windows console for the escape codes is weird. That's all I can say. It's 33, right? I mean, escape. Yeah, so this is fine. I guess, ooh, yeah, I'm going to like give it one more try in case I'm misremembering the code. I don't know. It should work actually, because, you know, modern Windows has support for ANSI escape codes again. But it does misbehave for some reason. \E doesn't work, and I guess we checked just \X. And you can see it actually works on my console, because this is the way I'm printing the prompt, right? So, yeah. And it's actually funny, because I have a Python... No, wait. It's a Python script which does uploads images to my blog, and what it does is actually like grabs the images, signs them, and then uploads them signed. So, and it's also using colors. Now every second line for some reason is in this format without colors, right? And then every like even line is actually the colors are properly applied. There's something really weird for the implementation of ANSI escape codes. Doesn't matter, I actually sidetracked what I wanted to do. So this works. Now, this is actually an iterator, so I should do second, which is going to be the function. And I can just call it, and I need to call it with cmd, then p, which are the arguments. I am going to probably change it later on, and vm, which is the VM pointer to the VM object. And that's it. So let's see if it works now. It doesn't compile, perfect. It doesn't have... Sorry, is this on it? Do I have to do this? Yeah, I have to do that. Okay. So break ASDF. Yeah, it works, because it somewhat works. I know what's the problem. Oh, perfect. Thank you for the donation. I am sorry. I would probably butcher your name, so I'm going to read the last part of it. Thank you for the donation, Patapi. Yeah, I need to train myself on pronouncing international names. Thanks for the stream, Senpai. No problem, Kohai. Yes, as you can see, I do know some Japanese. Very little. Okay, should I do proper argument parsing? I totally should do proper argument parsing. The way I'm going to do the argument parsing is I'm going to grab all the words and just split them. I'm not going to care about any quotes or anything like that. This is just going to be straight up tokenizing with like splitting by the space. And to do this, I'm going to create an std vector. This is going to be slow. I absolutely don't care. Yeah, I just like spent 10 minutes on optimizing the tree, but then I do parsing like this, but this is fine. A vector of strings, which are the arguments. This is the proper way to do it, I would say. Then, I don't know, like an infinite loop, for example. And now we do if scanf. Oh, I need a temporary buffer. So if I would be in kernel land, I would start worrying that my 6 kilobytes of buffers are going to overflow the stack. In kernel land, you might have, I don't know, anything between 8 kilobytes or 64 to 64 kilobytes of stack. The stack on kernel land is usually small for good reasons, but I am not in kernel land and my stack is a couple of megabytes, so that's fine. Now I will remove all the spaces I get, then I am going to do this, and I'm going to just grab the word, and I am going to grab the size of it as well. So this is the argument, then I do arg size, I'm going to initialize it. Sorry, arg size. And now, if it's... should it be equal to 1 or 2? If it's not equal, I don't know actually if percentage, I don't know, let's go with 2, because there are 2 tags, but I'm not sure if percentage n actually counts. If it's not equal to 2, that means there is no more arguments, we are at the end of the string. So just break. Oh, by the way, the donation is not yet programmed into my layout, so there is no funny GIF animation thanking for the donation yet. It is on our to-do list to do it though, right after like integrating the new mission screen. This should be fine. It should also strip at the beginning and not have any spaces at the end, so I just do args and place back. And now I just get string from arg. Yeah, there we go. And at this point, my arguments are actually going to be here. The std vector of std string, and I'm pretty sure I do have a vector. Yeah, I do have a vector. So yeah, as you can see, writing a debugger is all about not writing the debugger, it's about writing like boring text UI stuff. I apologize, but we will get to the debugger in a second. Okay, now I need to just, this is going to be, I'm not going to change it, so it's going to be with const std vector std string, yeah, args. Okay, perfect. Okay, and now what I need to do is I need to check if the size of the args, if it's not equal to 1, then actually like printf okay, so we're expecting on 1 argument, but we didn't get it, therefore we're going to just return here. Now, fun fact is that this printf doesn't have any tags, but if GCC detects a printf which doesn't have any tags but ends with this, it actually changes it into puts. So yeah, oh, that's funny. I have a macro key which actually ends the span tag in HTML for reasons. And now I guess I can put the arguments. So. Okay, args0 cstr to convert it into a C string. Well, actually get a pointer to the data. This is okay. Now this is not okay. Here we get this above is not okay yet. The loop is not okay. I need to fix it. CMD then args. This is now fine. Here is okay. Now what I'm missing here is, first of all, this is scanf, and I'm actually going parsing from p, and then I'm increasing the p by the arg size, which is I'm actually cutting out the string, right? Yeah. So yeah, basically you probably know about it, but I'm going to explain anyway. But it works like this: that I have like 3 arguments, and P is pointing here at the beginning when entering this loop, or maybe like here, the space before it. Then this actually grabs this, the ASD, and well, I get 4, I guess, as the end parameter. This is going to be 4. So here I'm going to move P by 4, therefore P is going to be moved here, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I get to the next iteration, which is like get rid of the spaces, then grab this, and then return again 4, and then move P by 4, therefore P would be moved here. Well, actually, no, actually here. Yeah, and then there is the end. We reach the end wherein there is no more string. Why you use std instead of using namespace std? That's an excellent question, a just question. So it's like this: when you're working on larger projects, you usually don't want to use using namespace something at all, because there are usually a lot of different namespaces, and if you start using namespace on a couple of them, you would get name collisions, and you want to avoid that. Therefore, you basically just write out the namespace literally, and it's something I got used to do. Like when I'm coding for myself, like, you know, ad hoc programs for a CTF, for example, I do using namespace std. Or another way to do it is, I guess, like using std string, for example, to make my life easier, right? And then I can just write string. But when I'm trying to write more proper code, then I actually do write out the namespace explicitly, unless there is a reason not to. So yeah, I guess that answers the question. It kind of boils down to personal preference thing, which I always say. Cool. This should be fine now. Let's try it. Okay, and break ASDF. Error. Perfect, because it is an error. XXXXX. Wrong argument count. But why? Okay, the quit doesn't work, but it should start working soon. Oops, that was a misclick. No. Why, oh why? Okay, I'm going to basically do it like this. Printed debugging. Break. Otherwise, add. And I'm going to add the brackets. So you add the brackets, basically you add these brackets here to know that there are no white spaces after whatever you see, because on your console you wouldn't see the white spaces, so it's better to actually put the brackets there to know where that there are any following or leading white spaces. Just another debugging trick. Yeah. Okay. Break ASDF 80. Okay, so it just breaks because this, as I was thinking, n doesn't count for the number of tags, which makes sense because it doesn't parse anything. It just like stores the amount of already parsed text in the integer I'm pointing to in the parameter. Now, okay. Yeah, this is now perfect. It actually parses everything, the spaces are removed here, so this is good. Then break on 1, 2, 3, and it actually did enter. This is fine, this isn't an error. So I guess I have my basic parsing actually working. Now I am going to add the quit command, because this is starting to annoy me. Okay. So, yeah. Void debugs CMD quit. And obviously I'm using all the same arguments. I'm going just to copy paste them. And now I guess I'm going to add it here. It's going to be either Q. I'm also going to add some aliases here. Q, quit, exit, or buy. Because I usually, when I'm in like a command line debugger, I struggle to figure out which one is it, and I like quit, enter, no, invalid command, exit, enter, no, buy, enter, yes, works, perfect. I think buy is actually from like the FTP protocol or something like that. Will there be podcasts or interviews on the channel, on this channel you mean? What type of podcasts do you mean? Because, for example, I might consider this a podcast, but if you mean podcasts with other people, then the answer is yes. I'm already chatting with a couple of smart people to talk about some stuff, but as soon as I get like the dates and confirmation and everything, we will, I will let you know. But yeah, I have at least 2 people basically like, well, not finalized yet, but confirmed. And yes, do ping KrzaQ, this guy, here is his YouTube nickname. Do use the @ before his nick and do ask questions pinging him, because the way it works is I'm actually not looking at the chat because I'm looking at the code. Now, I want to get the questions, so KrzaQ is looking at the chat, and if you ping him, he will put the questions in a secret panel we have somewhere on the internet. And yeah, and the question appears here, like, you know, on the feed bar that I have down there, and I also see it on my second screen, so I can answer it. Otherwise, we might miss it. So be sure to ping KrzaQ with the questions. Now, how do we quit? We basically do this, but not atomic get. We actually need atomic set. How do we do atomic set? We copy paste this piece of code, which actually does an atomic set of the proper variable. Now, the problem is, now this is actually perfect. And yeah, I'm going to just write, no, I'm just not going to write here anything else. I'm not using the arguments at all, so I'm going to remove the name here, or actually comment it out, since this is the way I prefer. I am using this, I am not using CMD, so I'm going to comment this out as well. So here we go. Yeah, let's do this. Do I need to do anything else for quitting? No, this should work, and I guess I'm going to write by here. Obviously checking if it works, by, but why didn't you exit? This should exit as well. Why didn't this exit? Oh, come on. No, seriously, what's holding you up? Because the loop did exit, because this was printed out, so the thread did exit. Now, this did not exit, because this actually should... yeah, because this doesn't check whether any other thread did post this, so I'm going to do here, or while, and, no, and, yeah, and it's not equal, now this should be fine. Perfect. Why? While not the end and SDL blah 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 is not equal to 1. Yeah, it's equal to 0 actually. Because I'm negating the condition. So sorry, I'm going to move the window here so you can see whether it works. Quit. Bye. Works. Perfect. If possible, stream about secure coding practice. Secure coding practice. That's actually a nice stream idea. I am going to add it to my list. Yeah, it's a really nice idea actually for a stream. Any reason there aren't any comments? Okay, so it's like this. I'm usually using the Google C++ coding style guide due to, well, obviously the place where I work, right? So what it says is that do use comments for some stuff, but do not put in trivial comments because the code should be readable enough that you do not need comments to explain it. If the code is like not readable or is complicated for some reason, then do put comments in. Now, most of this code is actually easy. Sorry, that's my personal thing, thoughts on the subject. I probably should add, yeah, for example, I added a comment here. I did add this. This comment is somewhat trivial, easy. I probably should remove it, but it can be here. Now, I might also add some comments here, and where I should add comments, I should probably comment each function on what it does. I'm not doing it due to, well, Livestream, basically. So I try to basically describe what I'm writing, describe what the code does, and therefore I don't think adding the text and the code during the live stream makes any sense. But being said, I do realize that anyone looking at the code after the live stream, not seeing the live stream, will say, well, like, what is this? So yeah, I guess even some comments should be added, but again, since I'm doing a live narration of it, I will not be adding it. Cool. So we have basically command parsing, we basically have quitting. Now, how to set a breakpoint? The breakpoints must be actually supported by the virtual machine itself. And the way you do it is you find the main loop. Where is the main loop? Dear main loop, are you here? Yeah, this is why you should have like a couple of files. Oh, here we are. Now, this is the main loop, and what happens here is that we have timers. We, by the way, can have breakpoints on timers. Like if the timer reaches a certain value, we might want to have a breakpoint on it. Then, here, this is, or actually even here, this is the place where we have a PC at a certain address and is going to be executed, or, well, yeah, probably executed. Assuming that PC is actually, assuming that these two instructions are not going to send out an exception and kill the process. And yeah, because they should kill the process. Because I'm not catching any exceptions, I'm assuming that if a next C++ exception is thrown, then just kill the process. So at this point, what I should do is I'm actually going to do something like this. I'm going to split the screen and I'm going to use a trick one of my viewers showed me, which is new view into file, which I couldn't do because I'm, yeah. Okay, so now I have the same thing twice on my screen. And in here in public, I need to add a map of breakpoints. So the map, do I need to add a map of breakpoints? No, I need to add a set of breakpoints. So do I have a set? I even need an unordered set. Is there such a thing as an unordered set? Yes, there is. What header is it? So what's the difference between a map and a set? A map is basically a dictionary where you have a key and a value. It's called, you know, a map, a dictionary. In some languages they call it an array, like PHP. And sometimes they call it like a hash list, depending on, it kind of depends on the implementation. It's a tree in, I think it's a red-black tree in C++. Anyway, but it has a key and a value. Now a set actually has only keys. It doesn't have any values, so what you use it for is you use it for checking if something is in the set or something is not in the set. Now, what I'm going to check whether something is in the set, that something is going to be the address of a breakpoint. So I'm going to create a set here. And so let me do like, yeah, comment. Here we go. It's going to be an unordered set of ends, yeah. Should be N16, but end is fine. Oh, there's a question, did I solve the crack me from the other stream? No, I actually forgot about it. So I guess I should finish it up. I think it was like 1 more hour of work for. Okay, and breakpoints. So let me maybe add a prefix here. This looks ugly, but instead of a prefix, I should create like a new class probably, but prefix. Now, in my main loop, just before I fetch the opcode, I can do, or after I fetch the opcode, it's actually quite, it's up to me how I decide to do it. I'm probably going to do it before I fetch the opcode, because, you know, the side effect of fetching the opcode might be actually crashing everything, but so probably I want to catch it before, so I have actually some debugging capabilities. And here I'm going to add it to the set. So debugger, okay, how do you add to a set? As you can see, I'm not using place. Is there like push or something? Add, push. Insert. Yeah, okay. So insert. KrzaQ confirms this insert, so I'm just going to believe him. Obviously, it's like VM. Is it the VM pointer? No, I'm obviously in the. This is the VM class, or actually the. So yeah, so I don't have to write it. Insert. And no, not insert. Insert is going to be in the other function. So I need to check if it's there. So it's find probably. Find. Yeah, it's fine. So cons auto. No, because I don't need it afterwards. So just like this. Find the PC. I'm going to look if the PC is there. Do I need to cast it to an int? I probably don't need to cast it to an int. I am going to cast it to an int though. If it's not equal to debug breakpoint blah 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 dot end. Yeah, because find actually returns the end iterator if it doesn't find it, but if it does find it, then I need to actually stop execution here and give back and tell the debugger that it's actually like hit a breakpoint. But before I'm going to stop the execution, I'm going to just write out something. Yeah, breakpoint hit. This is just a debug message. I'm going to later obviously change it. And now, because this doesn't stop the thread at all, but I will stop it in a second. And I am going to here. I need to actually parse the argument, change the argument into a string. So I know I already have an argument. Now I need to change the argument into an integer. And I'm going to use, yes, you have guessed it, I'm going to use scanf for it as scanf actually. So now why am I using scanf? Because scanf is probably doing proper error checking, which I hope it does. And you probably know that there is a tag, the proper tag to do it is %d. Because, well, that's how you get decimals. %I is a really, really awesome tag in scanf because it actually can parse both decimals and hexadecimals because it looks for the OX prefix. If there is an OX prefix, it treats it as a hexadecimal number. If there is no OX prefix, then it treats it just like a decimal number. That being said, since this is a breakpoint, actually, I am not going to do this. I'm going to force it to use hex numbers, because in debuggers you usually use hex numbers. So yeah, and I'm frequently annoyed that somebody decided in some like GDBs or something that you actually have to put the OX prefix, even though everyone uses for addresses, at least for addresses, hexadecimal numbers. Break PC. Okay, if it's not equal to 1, then printf. Okay, fine, return. And now we get here, and we actually can do VM and the back breakpoint. And I guess some of you are already smiling because you know where this is headed. Yes, this is a race condition. This can crash. But before I do it properly, I'm going to do it like this. Printf breakpoint at set. I probably should. So there's one reason why this shouldn't be a set. Or actually no, but it should be both a set and there probably should be a map as well. Because how do I disable breakpoint? Whatever, later. This is like UX stuff, user experience stuff, and I am not yet there. Okay. So setting the breakpoint and then actually checking if it's there. Let's see if how many errors. I don't have too many errors. Now I need to figure out like when this is going on, what addresses are hit, so I can actually test it. So I'm going to do something really nasty, which is so where's my main loop, dude? Okay. Here I am going to do something nasty, please don't look. Okay. So I have like some addresses which are hit all the time, so at least I can check if it works. So now I can comment this out. I can run it again. I do have these addresses. They're all hexadecimal. Okay, so this is running, obviously. And I covered my... Yeah, okay. Break on 2.5e. Okay, and it works. And as you can see, the breakpoint gets hit. So at least we're detecting that a breakpoint is being hit. Now, so Murmus CTF will be, Murmus's livestream is going to be on a different channel. When my livestream ends, there is going to be basically a link to that channel. Now, about the race condition, because this is quite important, do keep in mind that my debugger thread is running in one thread, and my virtual machine thread is running in a second thread. And this is accessing the set. Now the set is it doesn't matter what it is, but it's a complicated structure which does heap allocations when adding stuff, deallocates stuff probably when also adding stuff, and so on. So, and it changes some pointers. If I do in one thread this, like I insert something, and at the same time during this insert, the second thread is actually going through the sequence of like find and get the end iterator, then some pointers might start to mismatch during like half of the operations, because the operations obviously like in the second pointer would be from a couple of steps, and assuming that I have this pointer here which adds and changes some pointers, pointers acquired at this step and this step might be actually not valid when in this step already, and it might crash. And this kind of crashes isn't like C++ only stuff. It's like if you do it in Java, the application would throw an error too, like an exception. So it's typical that you have to synchronize access to ideally everything. In reality, everything due to barriers and atomic access and some other stuff, but it's especially important for complex structures like sets, for example, or dictionaries or maps or anything which is more complicated than basically an integer. Just use Rust. Okay, that's also one way to do it. But being set in Rust, I don't know, I've heard great things in Rust about solving how the ownership of an object is solved. I'm not sure how. I'm quite interested in how Rust actually solves the threading synchronization stuff. But I'm not sure about its save, because I would need to check how it's done, because it's complicated in the end. Like, for example, if you have two different objects and you need to access them in correct order, or they need to change in correct order, and then you read them in the same order, then if that is actually solvable on a high level. Okay, so let's do it properly. How to do it properly? You use mutexes, which is a mutual exclusion lock. SDL create mutex. I actually hope to get today at least the breakpoint running, so, and the next stream is going to be, I guess, about adding more stuff to this. No, not Control S. Okay, so this is going to create a mutex. Now, LLVM, the compiler, you know, Clang or Clang, whatever you want to call it, actually has a really nice way of telling the compiler that a given object or variable is protected by a given mutex, and then the compiler actually checks during the compilation time whether when using a given object you actually acquired the mutex in the same context. And GCC cannot do it, and I'm using GCC, and I'm sad about it. Let's go to SDL mutex, and I need a pointer to it, and let's call it debug breakpoints guard or mutex. Let's go just mutex. Now I do need to initialize it, and I do believe, do I have a constructor? If I don't have a constructor, this is a perfect time for me to create a constructor. Yes, I do. So, okay, let me find it. It's here. I'll reset initialize. Okay, this is fine. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm going to create the mutexes here. SDL create mutex. Now, mutexes can be implemented in a couple of funny and interesting ways. They can have support from the operating system, but they don't have to. It's quite nice actually, because if, you know, one thread is basically holding a lock, right? And the other is waiting until that thread releases the lock, right? Now, what does waiting mean? Because waiting could mean a couple of things. It could be a so-called busy loop, where it just does, you know, in a loop, is the lock free? No, then like repeat the loop. Is the lock free? Is the lock free? Is the lock free? Now this is called a spin lock actually, and spin locks are not really too useful because they consume a lot of CPU power, and like they just eat all your CPU. So what you usually do is you do a couple of iterations of the busy loop, and then you switch into the into basically like yielding your CPU power to the operating system scheduler, so it decides what to do now, which means calling sleep in the end, or calling yield if there is such a function in your language. And then the operating system might do a couple of things. If the mutex is, if it knows it's a mutex and it supports mutexes on that level, it could actually say that this thread is waiting for this mutex to actually unlock. And then this thread is going to be kept asleep by the scheduler until this mutex is actually ready, unlocked. And when this mutex is unlocked, then the scheduler, the system scheduler, is going to wake up this thread, not maybe immediately, maybe in a couple of, you know, nanoseconds or milliseconds or whatnot, but it will wake it up and it will be able to grab the lock, if it's obviously still available at that time. If the operating system does not support the mutex, then it doesn't know there's a mutex, that the thread is waiting on a mutex. Then it would like through a couple of, well, you know, every time the scheduler comes, it sees this thread is ready and waiting, and it will launch this thread, and the thread will check a couple of times or just one time whether the mutex is unlocked. And then, like, if it's still locked, it will go back to sleep, and the scheduler will wake it up again, and it will check again if the lock is ready. So, yeah, that was a digression about how mutexes work on the operating system level, I guess. or like on implementation level. And I guess I told you everything about it because what I wanted to really say is I have absolutely no idea what SDL does and how does the mutex work in SDL. Because SDL is just a wrapper. It uses some functions in the operating system. You know what? We are going to check because I'm curious. So I do have source code of the SDL downloaded somewhere. It's actually good to have source code downloaded for stuff you're using. So create mutex. Yeah, okay. And okay, so there is like a sysmutex thing. Create mutex. This is for Windows. It uses initialize critical section, which makes sense because this doesn't create the mutant object in Windows namespace, so it's set to be faster. Yeah, a critical section and a mutex are basically like almost the same things, with exception to some compilers actually supporting them, but that's a different story. Let's not talk about it now. So I'm creating the mutex now. Whenever I access this object, I need to actually log the mutex and then unlock it. So let's go here. I'm accessing this object, so I need to do SDL log mutex and my mutex name. And here I'm going to unlock it, obviously. This is, I already see this is leading to a funny situation, but okay. Then, yeah, the second time I'm using this, oops. Here we go. Here I also need to obviously lock it, so yeah, this is lock and this is unlock, and now this is thread safe. Well, at least this part, because there are a lot of objects which are not synchronized, but they should not kill the application, while this would kill the application. And it says, well, blah blah blah, not declared, but it's correct because it's actually a field in the VM object, so I do need to do this. Okay, so this seems to work. I can add to 5e, I think. Yeah, it does work, perfect. But it's not, so it's like this. The breakpoint is now hitting, but it's not actually stopping the execution. To stop the execution, we actually should have a flag which is basically like, yeah, stop the execution. Don't really execute anything. And the flag initially must be actually set to true. So the flag is going to be called, I'm not synchronizing the flag yet. Debug stop execute, break execution, maybe break. Okay, so it's a boolean, as you can see. Then I need to find the CHIP-8 constructor, two little semicolons. Now I need to actually initialize it to true, because at the beginning when I run the application, I actually want to, you know, be able to initialize some breakpoints, and if I don't do this, if I don't break at the beginning, it will just go. And now in the main loop, which is here, surprisingly I randomly found it, at this point, just before fetching the opcode, this is important, before fetching the opcode, because from a debugger, I might change it, like tell the debugger, hey, actually write to this piece of memory and change the opcode which is there. So at this moment, I need to check if, that's actually going to be a while the debug break execution thingy, mutex, yeah, Q, is set, then, well, sleep. So SDL delay and 10 milliseconds. 10 milliseconds is fine. 10 milliseconds is actually quite a lot. I think on Windows, each thread before the scheduler actually forces it to yield the CPU has, I think, about 6 milliseconds. So 10 milliseconds is quite a lot of sleeping time. Yes, I will have to implement a run command then. Falk David, you are absolutely correct. I will do it in a second. Sublime tip, Control R to search and jump into a function. Control, wow, thank you. This is probably the best tip. I was wondering if a second ago how to do it. So D-line, thank you for the tip. If I forget it, then please remind me. Okay, so yeah, I do need to implement run in this case, because currently if I just start it, nothing will happen. Yeah, nothing happens. Where are my paddles? My pong is not working, so just bye. And to make matter worse, this actually did not quit, and the window did hang because I am somewhat stupid. So, okay, let's do... Oh, can I just write a part of the name here? Let's see if I can write main. Yes, I can, perfect. This is amazing. Because here, between the delays, I actually need to check this condition. No. Do I do anything? No, I do. I'm going to return here. This return here, I don't like it. I don't like putting return here because if I ever add something, some deinitialization at the end, then that return is going to hurt me. But okay, now this is fine. If it's not 0, then return. Perfect. Now it will not hang my window. We can go back to the debugger. So no, wait. Control R debugger cmd breakpoint thread func. Okay. And now I need to create the run or R. No, arc might be short for register. I'm going to do this debug. Okay, this is fine. And maybe start, I guess. Start. Maybe go as well. And maybe G as well. And now run quit. Typical copy-paste error. Okay, sweet. It's going to be like a... I guess you expect it to be a super easy function, right? Because the super easy function is going... It actually should be using, by the way, I shouldn't be using a boolean. I should be probably using an atomic thing, or at least a boolean around mutexes. Just basically to force... Just to hope that the compiler thinks then that there are some like other ways the boolean can be changed, but I guess the modern C++ understands the threading model better. So yeah, debug break execution to false. And during execution, the debugger, on the other hand, should not you should not be able to interact with it. So. And unless it, you know, some breakpoint is hit, but I don't mind too much actually. And the reason you should not be able to interact with it, there are a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is actually that when the breakpoint hits, it might cause some gibberish on the screen because, you know, you have like half of a line you're writing and then suddenly a text appears, breakpoint hits, and you're like, what was I typing again? Okay, but this should work. Will it pause the execution at breakpoint? I don't think so, so let me change it. So breakpoint is hit, and at this point I need to debug break execution to true, and this should actually work. What happened? This sounds like a typo. Where's the typo? Oh, sorry for this, that's a typo. Okay, so it's waiting now, it's not executing. Now I'm going to write break and OL 200. 200 is basically the entry point. So, well, I'm already at the entry point, so that doesn't make too much sense. So 25E. And now I'm going to run it. Go. And as you can see, it hit the breakpoint. So yeah, it did something, it rendered something, and now I have control again. Oh, it doesn't repeat this. Yeah, I guess I should make it repeat the prompt in the case of an empty line. It doesn't matter. And now I can do, I don't know, set another breakpoint, or I can just let it go again. I guess there should be like a C for continue, but let's do go. So yeah, as you can see, it goes. The breakpoints work. I do not have any remove breakpoint functionality, I guess. So yeah, let's get another point. Okay. Yeah, and then there's a pause, and the pause is actually visible here, so it works. So let me close it. So yes, after 1 hour and 40 minutes, I guess we do have a debugger which can do breakpoints, and I guess you can also see that it's somewhat complicated already because we have two threads, we need to synchronize data between them, and it will get probably more funny afterwards. But let's finish today at this point, and let's do another episode on actually making the disassembler, inspecting and changing the memory. Given that we created the framework here today, it should be way easier to do it. So if there are any questions, I can answer them now. Otherwise, there is a mission prepared. So it actually has 2 levels. But the first one is easy, the second one, I don't know. The answer is I don't know if the second one is easy or not, because it can be either really easy, solvable, or not. So yeah, I guess I will see you later. Cool. So I don't believe there are any questions. Therefore, I would like to thank again KrzaQ for being my moderator today. Also thank you to Foxtrot Charlie, who's been around and helping out too. See you next week. I'm going to upload the code to GitHub in a second. As for the Polish stream tomorrow, it's a good question, because I didn't finish the MythTracer stuff because I'm quite busy with some other things. So I'm probably going to do either a random topic or a random stream topic, or like even, it might be even so random that I will be just playing like code programming like game on the stream, because why not? So yeah, the answer is maybe. Yeah, I don't want to cancel it again, so probably yes. So for the English stream, the next one is going to be about the debugger again, and then I hope to finish the debugger at least to some degree next time. And I guess I'm also going to show you how to create the how to compile code for the VM next time as well, since I didn't get to it today. Maybe I should start the stream by organizing the file, this into separate files. No, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is, you know, it's not like I'm going to develop this code 5 weeks from now, right? How about programming an operating system? That's, I think, on the list somewhere, but since I'm stuck on my Polish streams with that, and it's not moving forward, I would not like to start a topic like that before I unstuck the Polish stream and actually move that forward. Because, well, if I do it on Polish stream, I can then do it on English stream. So let's see how that goes. And on the Polish stream, I still need to finish the ray tracer stuff. Cool. So thank you very much for being here. Again, thank you to KrzaQ, and see you next week. And I'm leaving you with some music and the mission. So happy hacking. And I guess remember about Murmus's stream, which will start really soon, and about, you know, SpaceX launch later on. So that's it. Thank you, and bye-bye. Have a great one.
the whole